So welcome back to another episode, and today I'm going to talk about two games. One came out a few months ago, one just came out recently, and that is Shantae and Nioh. And two very different, very interesting games that I'm going to talk about today. Give some first impressions of. I'm quite far into Shantae. I'll start off with that one. And the first game I do want to talk about is this one, and it is called Half-Genie Hero. And I want to give you some perspective on my, backstory on Shantae. I don't have a backstory. I have never played the older games. There was one on the Game Boy Advance, that was the first game, and then there was Risky's Revenge, and then there was the Pirate's Curse, and I never played those. I knew they were released on the DS, and Limited Run Games has just released a few of them as well. Now, I haven't opened this copy of the game, so how did I play it? I had a strange feeling with this game, I really did. I thought, this game really reminds me of one of my favorite old Mega Drive games, which is Monster World 4. And this is signed by the original creator of Wonder Boy, which is ridiculous. And I was like, this game seems a lot like it. And I saw some of my friend Taylor's impressions of it on Twitter. And I was like, maybe I'll give this game a go. And I started seeing some gameplay. I'm like, oh, I'm not opening this up. This is going to be a classic game. I really have that feeling. And so I downloaded the game. I bought it twice. I bought this game twice. And it's one of those gambles that really has paid off. I can't say enough about Shantae. It is fantastic. In fact, it's one of the best action-adventure games I have played in around 10 years. I'm coming up with that figure, but that's what it feels to me like. I mean, I started off playing, and I'm going to use the term, Metroidvania games years ago with Castlevania and obviously Metroid, and I love that style of game. And what that kind of style of game is, if you don't know, it's where there's a huge map, and you start off in one section of it, and you unlock different sections of the map by getting different items, different abilities, and it's very fulfilling. You're going back and forth quite a lot, but I love this kind of action-adventure genre. I've absolutely loved it since I played it with Castlevania. And Shantae is perfection in this regard. I've always said my favorite TurboGrafx game is Dragon's Curse, and it really is, and I like the back and forth that you had with that, getting different monster suits and going back and forth. This game is exactly that. Your main character, Shantae, can change into different creatures by doing this dance, and that unlocks different areas, and I can't tell you how fulfilling this game is. I started playing it 5 days ago, and I cannot drag myself away from it. It is so much fun. The graphics are phenomenal. They look like a beautiful cartoon using so many different styles, but the style works perfectly. The gameplay is beautiful. All the controls work so well. My only complaint is sometimes when you're switching monsters, you'll hit something else, a different monster that you didn't want to use or a different ability that you didn't want to use, but I've gotten a lot better at that as well. But it is so fulfilling going to an area and saying, oh, I can't go through here yet. And then, 4 hours later in the game, you come back to that section, or you open up a piece in the ground that was closed off to you before. And here, I'm going to get into it as well. The music in this game is phenomenal. This is music that I start playing the game. In the first 5 minutes of playing the game, I'm like, this music is incredible. There's certain music that as soon as it starts playing, I'm like, I'll be listening to this music in 10 to 15 years' time. It's that memorable. Now, the one thing that I definitely want to mention is this was launched on Kickstarter, and after doing some research, I found out about this. And that's the thing I had to do with this game. I had to do some research because it came out on many different platforms from that Kickstarter, but it came to PS4 during December, and December was crazy for video game releases, and this got lost in the shuffle of all these bigger, next-gen releases. And it's a crying shame, it really is, and I really want to highlight this and say if you love action platforming games, you have to buy this game. You have to play it. I'm not sponsored by WayForward Studios in any regard. This has been one of those wonderful moments when you take a risk on a game and it pays off so much that you're blown away. And I was playing it the other day and I was like, oh my god, if I shot a video right now, my enthusiasm would be through the roof. I am loving this game. And it's 4 or 5 days later and I'm still loving it the same. The music, every single level of the music is unbelievable. The back and forth, which I know can get tiresome. It doesn't get tiresome in this game. You want to explore, you want to go through every level and use every different creature ability to unlock brand new areas. It's very, very fulfilling, and the art style, the character design, everything is top notch. I love this game. I give it a 9 out of 10. I really do. It's, as you guys know, I'm a huge Wonder Boy fan, and this, I can honestly say, is better than all of those games. And don't get me wrong, I love the nostalgia of those older games. They're great, phenomenal games. They're 9 out of 10 games for me personally as well. But this game is perfection, and highly, highly recommend Half-Genie Hero. So next up is Nioh, and I had no idea about this game. I knew it was coming out, but I didn't know anything about it. I went into it completely blind, and I wrote to Sony and I said, hey, can I get a review copy of this? I'm really curious about the game. And they sent me one, and I spent the last 3 days playing it, and it was a lot different than I expected. I went in expecting almost like a Dynasty Warriors-esque action game, just a hack and slash, and that's it. I didn't know any backstory or anything of this game beforehand, and I'm telling you, I was totally surprised. It's by Koei Tecmo and Team Ninja, and I had no idea that Team Ninja was even working on this game. Now, you play as a character called William Adams, and you go on a journey to Japan, feudal Japan, and you know, there's a lot of other things going on there. There's like demons, supernatural stuff, and it's based on an Akira Kurosawa unfinished script. I had no idea about this until I looked into it. I was like, what? I had no idea about this. I guess there was an unfinished script and they had taken different elements and they were going to do like a big multimedia product about it. So they're going to make movies and video games, maybe even TV shows. And anyways, we've got this video game and it's been quite a surprise. Now, the one big surprise about Nioh, because I went in blind, I had no idea what to expect. I just thought it was going to be an action game. It is not just an action game. If you like Dark Souls, and this is a very big compliment, if you like Dark Souls, you're gonna love Nioh, because Nioh is a Dark Souls game. It's not a spiritual successor, but the gameplay is exactly the same. So you'll be running through levels, and you can either fight, the monsters or these other samurai, or just kind of run by them and just try to get items, or tackle whatever you want to do, kind of go in your own direction through a level at your own leisure. But combat is exactly the same as Dark Souls. You attack and dodge exactly the same as Dark Souls, even rolling pretty much the same to get behind enemies and do a lunge attack right into their heads and stuff like that, and hit them from behind. So exactly the same, and totally welcome. The control is really, really wonderful. The graphics themselves are pretty damn good. I'd say, like a 9 out of 10 for graphics. Some of the graphics in the later stages, and I'm not gonna show the spoilers, I'm just gonna show the early parts of the game while I'm showing it right now, were really, really nice, and I love the atmosphere about feudal Japan. And I kept laughing, thinking back to, that E3 all those years ago, like, when they say, this is based on feudal Japan, and look out for this giant enemy crab, attack his weak point for massive damage. I don't know, I was playing the game and I kept thinking about that, and I was laughing to myself, but I really had no idea the game was going to be as deep as what it was, and it has an experience point system for, picking kind of what stats you want and what to actually level up for yourself, and I was blown away. I thought it was going to be an action game, and it was more of a Dark Souls game, and that to me is a great thing. I personally prefer the Dark Souls series because I love that medieval, evil looking fantasy, but my god, you cannot knock Nioh. The Japanese feudal kind of supernatural demons and shit you fight in this game are unbelievably great. Very linear, but still a very fun game, very atmospheric, and a game I was quite surprised about coming back, and I give the game high recommendations. Again, if you want something different than a Dark Souls game, but you still like the Dark Souls kind of combat and leveling up systems, this game is very, very similar. So, wow, a couple of games that were really phenomenal. You know, this month, one was from December that I only played now, and Nioh is a brand new game that's just released, absolutely. And both games you cannot go wrong, and I'm so always happy, no pun intended, to review games that I really enjoyed. And I really enjoyed both these games. So anyways, guys, until next time.